Hi, so this is this week's whole review episode. So there's a few. There's about I think there's 11 comics, so it's better than last week. And I do have two more coming, but in the UK at the moment, with all the fuckery that's going on with Diamond, um, it's guesswork when comics are coming in. So we're still having delays like Image Comics. So I got one Image comic that should have come out last week, but I've not had any for this week. So a bit pissed off with that because Image is one of my favourite companies. But we'll review these. So first of all, one that gets the nostalgia hit of the month and the smell of the week, and just the general. Just this really gets my serotonin just going. Just gives me such a buzz reading this, and this is the facsimile. Pardon me, of Batman Adventures number 12, which was the Batgirl one, in which Harley and Ivy appeared, by Mike, arts by Mike Perebeck and Rich Burkett on inks, and Kelly Puckett on writing. This brings back so many happy memories. It's such a quality comic, and I love how DC do the facsimiles. Marvel, I don't want to. No, I do, because Marvel is shit at the moment. They really are, and I hate how they do the facsimiles. They don't do them like a facsimile. They're doing like this weird hybrid of it's kind of a facsimile, but it's not. We're going to charge you an extra. It's $4.99 to start with, and we're going to put on this horrible paper that doesn't show the original art and colours really well. Whereas this, it's got the original ads, original paper, original colouring. It's just wonderful. I miss newsstand comics. I really do. So I'm sure I got this back in the day. It was 1993, I think, when it first came out. And it's just worth it just for the ads as well. I mean, do you remember seeing these in the comics where you could order mail order? I used to have dreams about that, thinking, oh, why can't I live in America and get comics that way? We just had crappy little mail order things back in the 90s, which I did use. Of course, you got Nightfall. So, like I said, this is just a real nostalgic, but Superman. What's great about it, the Superman novel, what's great about it is it stands the test of time so well. It's a one and done story, and it's a perfect little story. It's got that perfect balance as well of the lightness of the cartoon, but there's kind of like a depth to it, and there's humour in it, but it's not hitting you over the face with it, and it is a true family-friendly comic. So yeah, it's a great timestamp of the 90s when Batman animated series was all the rage. 9 out of 10, just wonderful. Still as good as it was when it first came out. So keeping in with DC, and again another weird thing, our comic shop, my local comic shop, all the Aquaman ones that we had in were just this cardstock. So I had no choice to get a small one. Again, Diamond is really messing the shops up. So fine. I mean, I get a discount anyway, but I just like the original. I don't like alternate variant covers. I'm not a big fan. So I might separate it, I might not. I mean, I've paid an extra £1 for it. But saying that, love the story. John Tim's artwork is continuing to be a delight. Love the colouring by Locus. And Jeremy Adams' writing in this is so good. And some people don't like this issue, saying, oh, it's a slow one, it's full of lore. So what? That's called storytelling. If you're reading a novel, say for example, Stephen King novel, you have a few chapters where it's action packed, and then there's a dip in the middle where it just builds on it a bit more. And this is what this does. It heightens the mystery, it goes into the lore, into the history, and it's shaping up Aquaman to be a really solid, not aquatic adventure, but a fantasy adventure as well. I love how it's dipping into how it's using like the elements like in the Swamp Thing comics and Animal comics. So where Animal Man's got the red, polymers of the red, Swamp Thing's got polymers of green. This has got polymers of blue. And I love the flashbacks to when he was a young boy with his dad. It's just I'm so pleased. I just rested it for a little bit and decided to go back on with it because it's a wonderful story. And one of my favourite characters from the 80s is back in Arian. If you've never read the Arian comics, I think they're all on the DC app. I highly recommend you read them. I just loved them. It had really good art, if I remember rightly, by John Dershimer. Can't remember who the writer was, but it was one of my favourite. I always liked comics, even in the 80s. I always liked comics that weren't strictly superheroes. They had either like a sci-fi element or a horror element or a fantasy element. So again, that ticks over the box, and it delves into this comic delves into the mystery from the All In special, so it delves into the mystery of Darkseid, etc. It's great, a wonderful, wonderful comic. 9 out of 10. Definitely carrying on with that. And another comic that blew me away. Oh, flipping heck! Hay Fever is Absolute Superman #5. Wonderful cover. The arts and colours by I miss the old days when it's so easy to find a list of the creative team, the credits. It's on there, right at the back. Stupid, right? So, art by Rafa Sandoval, wonderful, and the colours by Ulises Ariola, really, really good, and the lettering by Becca Carey is superb. Never heard of her before. And Jason Aaron, since he stopped just working for Marvel, he's reignited his writing skills. This has quickly become my favourite Absolute title. This dips into the back history of when he was on Krypton. Very, very different tangents to what the normal Superman story is. And it leaves a really good open mystery at the end about, there could be more to this. It's got a nice, really nice, cute, wonderful, warm appearance by Krypto. And then it seamlessly blends to present day when he's on Earth fighting the Peacemakers. This comic is just a delight. I just zipped through it, I just absorbed it. The art is wonderful. It's a perfect blend of deep sci-fi and superheroics. It's meshed perfectly. I might actually think I enjoy this more than the regular Superman comic. Blasphemy, I know, because it's got Joshua Williamson and Dan Mora. But yeah, it's wonderful. I'm going to give this a 10 out of 10. Another one that I could give a very high score for. It's never disappointed me, this comic. And I know Geekyo Hog's a fan of this. Shout out to Geekyo Hog. Do check out his channel. Is DC versus... talk about checking out channels. If you like Aquaman, check out another wonderful YouTuber all the way from Canada, and that is DC Patrol. He's a huge Aquaman fan, and he's singing the praise of this as well, so the two of us can't be wrong. Anyway, DC vs Vampires, World War V. This is by the ongoing creative team of Matthew Rosenberg and Otto Smith. That cover is just wonderful. I love the energy of Otto Smith's penwork. This should not be as good as it is. It has no right to be this good. It's a crazy, stupid, silly plot line. It's an Elseworlds title. It's very kind of like a parallel story to Deceased, but instead of it being zombies, it's vampires. And it should not work. This is everything that that Marvel thing from last year, Jed McKay, that really crap vampire one that had like 1 million crossover titles, which was shit, completely shit. This is everything that it should have been. This makes you feel for the human survivors, and makes you feel for the vampires as well. Rock Damien in this, it's just brilliant, because he's a vampire, but he's working on the side of humans, but is he doing it for his own agenda? And it's $4.99, and it's got about 30 pages. It's got really good, solid Animal Man backup as well. It brings one of the best iterations of Darkseid I've seen. It brings the new gods crashing into Earth, so they've landed. So people thought they had it bad with vampires. They've not seen nothing yet now that Darkseid's here. And Metron's, and it's just a great book. The dialogue is wonderful. There's no excessive verbiage. It just keeps the pummeling along plot with the pace of it. And like I said, the art is just glorious, from the artwork to the colouring. Everything about this comic is just perfect. So yeah, it's 10 out of 10. It's not a masterpiece. It's not gonna solve all life's problems. It's not going to win the Nobel Peace Prize. He's not going to get awarded the poet laureate or whatever. It doesn't matter. It's a fucking fun, amazing, balls to the wall, crazy comic that works so well. There's not been one weak issue. Yeah, perfect series. I'm sad it's going to be finishing on issue 12. Another comic that's really pleasing me, I love that cover, is Batman and Robin. I got bored with this when Joshua Williams was on because he made it too cutie, and you can't do that with Damian. He's not that kind of Robin. Philip Kennedy Johnson seems to get the dynamics between Bruce and Damian much more. He really focused in on the dysfunctionality where they both want to say they love each other. They love it, Damian loves his dad and Bruce loves his son, but they just don't know how to. And they're trying to find, and this issue shows in very subtle ways, they're trying to find the love language for each other, how they can show affection for each other, to show that they care for each other. And it's so funny, you can feel yourself grimacing because it's so clunky, because they're used to basically just fighting bad guys. They're not used to having interpersonal, normal conversations, normal relationships. They don't know what to do when they're not fighting. They don't know how to behave as father and son. And the art by Javi Fernandez and colours by Marcelo Maiolo, just brilliant. Lettering by Steve Wallace is great as well. And it's got this really nice, modern, but almost old school gothic feel to it. There's this villain, you don't know if he's real, if it's a hallucination, if it's supernatural. They've not alluded to what it could be yet. It's a really clever mystery. It dives into things what were hinted at in the Night series by Chip Zdarsky, and about when Bruce went as a late teenager to train under different people to get his skills. It's just really good exercise and world building. But whereas the Chip Zdarsky one retconned a lot of stuff and did unnecessary retreading of old tropes from previous stories, this just builds on placemats that were placed already into something new and evolves and makes the story bigger. And it's a wonderful mystery knowing what this guy is. He's very, very sinister. And yeah, 9 out of 10, wonderful. If you've not been trying this, if you've just been sticking to Detective and Batman, I am looking forward when Jim Lee comes on. Give it a try, you won't be disappointed. Talking about amazing Batman comics, Batman Dark Matters #4. So same creative team. So Dan Watters and Hayden Sherman and Triona Farrell on colours and Frank Sektovic on letters. So it's the same creative team of the previous 3 issues, but this is a new storyline. This one is set in a big building block, and there's been an officer gets thrown out of a window and there's still an officer being held captive, and it turns out that there's a really cool, one of my favourite Batman creations from I think it's the late 80s, early 90s, by John Wagner and Alan Grant when they did their glorious run with Noam Brayfogle. So the ventriloquist is in here, but in a new, really eerie form. So it blends that storyline with, if you've ever watched Judge Dredd, there was the Judge Dredd film, but I think it was before that, there's The Raid, which I think the Dredd film lifted a lot of their ideas from. And so if you've never watched The Raid, watch The Raid and you'll appreciate this comic even more. It's that same thing where Batman's basically fighting the tenants in this building to try and get to rescue this police officer who's still surviving in the building. I think Hayden Sherman, I think they are quite possibly one of the best artists in America at the moment. Their use of layout, I know the darling at the moment is Danny Warren Johnson and Dan Mora, but I think Hayden Sherman is doing much more with page layouts, much more with design. He can change his style at the flick of a switch. He really makes you lose yourself in the page to see how each page is like a puzzle that opens you up to new designs and new, almost like Easter eggs. It rewards you for if you just take your time reading it. I really do think he's America's best cartoonist at the moment. He's got such a wonderful design flow to his work, I mean, if you look at this art compared to his Absolute Wonder Woman and the stuff he did for IDW with Scott Snyder, he's like a chameleon. Sorry, they like to be called they. They're like a chameleon, how they can change for whatever the story requires. Oh, they're just wonderful in how they do it, and I love just the whole panels. And he makes Jim Gordon look really cool as well. So that's the art. The art is fantastic, and the story is great. This is pure, unadulterated Batman as a detective. They've done away with any of the silly frippery what Chip Zdarsky, who did more damage to Batman than good, put in Batman. And this is what I like. This is stripped down Batman. This is Batman, street level Batman, and it's wonderful. Again, another 10. Great week. Thing is though, I'm not one of those people who give a now. Comics are too expensive. I look at comics now. Will I read it again? If I won't read it again, I'll stop it. Even if it's been one issue and I didn't like that issue, I'll stop it. I won't give it another chance, or I'll pause it if I think, oh, it's okay, and then I'll come back to it. But yeah, but I'm digressing. Anyway, one comic I'm glad it jumps on is Green Lantern Corps #2. This cover is just brilliant. So this is the big Green Lantern team book by Jeremy Adams and Morgan Hampton writing, art by Fernando Passarin and Claire Albert on inks, and Arif Prianto on colours, and Dave Sharp on letters. Quite a big team. It's nice to see an inker on a comic. You don't see that very much nowadays. But this artwork is just beautiful. DC have no bad artists on their comics. Why? Well, we know why Marvel are in quite a bit of trouble with a lot of artists because they're not paying their artists at the moment at proper rates. Shame on you, Marvel. This is why I don't buy many Marvel. I want excellence in my comics. Otherwise, I just stop them. This is great. So there's a big devastating impact on the first issue. Basically, Thanagar's been destroyed by the big villain. So Hawkgirl, or is it Hawkwoman? She could be like the last survivor, and there's like an undercurrent of some kind of sexual frisson between her and Jon Stewart, and they have to hide in a closet, and they both come out a bit like, because they're like this close to each other. It's just really good. It's just story beats. The dialogue is great. The art is fantastic. This is what you want from a Green Lantern comic. It's fast paced, but it doesn't skimp on the plot. There's a lot of characters in it, but it doesn't overwhelm you like some comics can. And it just develops the story really naturally, and there's I don't want to show the last page because there's a really good twist at the end where there could be more to Planet Thanagar than they originally suspected. And yeah, I loved it. So 9 out of 10. Do buy this comic. Even if you're not buying the ongoing Green Lantern comic, which if you're not, shame on you, because that's good as well. This is still, you can still read this by itself. Really, really good. 9 out of 10. Talking about really good comics, Hyde Street finally came into my shop, issue #4. I think this is this Peter Snowsberg cover. I didn't choose it. It was just in my pull box. So, but it's a nice cover. This was great. For one thing I like about this, it's had two tropes that I really love. I love Twilight Zone, and I love how Hyde Street leans really heavily into the Twilight Zone trope, but with a very strong horror undercurrent. And then they also embrace Universal Monsters in this, and I adore Universal Monsters. I've got all the films. I just really, really love old school horror. Universal, Hammer, I'm a Happy Bunny. Horror movies from the 70s and 80s. Love them. I'm just not a big fan of the current trends for shock horror. That doesn't do anything for me, but this is really good. It gives you the origin story of this new character, Asgardman, and it's such a tragic story. I don't want to show you too much because it'll ruin the joy of reading this book, but Ivan Reis and Danny Mickey on inks are really heavily leaning into Bernie Wrightson sensibilities in this. It's a very gothic issue. And again, 9 out of 10. I'm not giving it 10 out of 10 because I still think it can be better. It's perfect, but with the team that's on, I think it can be even. I think next issue will be even better. Though I think next issue will have a different artist. It's Francis Potella, so it's not the regular art team on it next issue. So we just have to see. I like how to give like almost like a guide to each new character that comes in, and they've got some fake adverts as well. Just a really nice all-round package. $3.99, cardstock cover, wonderful. I liked the first 2 issues of this. The art in this is Green Hornets Miss Fury. Art in this is still gorgeous. But Alex Segura, what are you doing? I enjoyed him on Dick Tracy. I enjoyed the first 2 issues, but this dialogue was clunky. It seemed mismatched with the characters. It was just messy, so I'm stopping it. I'm going to give this art 8 out of 10, story 4 out of 10, so average it out about 5. I'm stopping it, so bye bye. But I tried it, I enjoyed it as it was. Okay, now let's just have a drink before I start. There's an artist who worked mostly for 2000 AD, and I think he did a book by what was licensed through Rebellion. I think it's called Gold Tiger. It's like a pastiche of the 60s newspaper spy comics like Modest Blaze, etc. And he did a really nice run on Vampirella, and it's Jimmy Broxton. He did a series called Hope for 2000 AD. So this is the first of his creator-owned comic called Fully Loaded. Cost not covered, but it's $5.99. There's 28 story pages. Now, I don't like to be negative. Like I said, I love his artwork, but this was a rip-off. Okay, so that page is okay, but the dialogue was pointless. This comic, it feels like he's spliced together the noir elements of Blade Runner. He's got the opening scene is very reminiscent of Akira, where there's the big bomb, and then he's put into that a bit of Mad Max, and then a massive dose of Howard Chaykin. This is just like a Howard Chaykin pastiche, but the thing that really annoyed me, I'll show you. So there's that full page spread, and then there's that, 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 that. So that is $12 pages where really nothing at all happens. It's 12 pages that could have been done in 2 pages. That is bad storytelling. He needs an editor. I don't think there is an editor on this, is there? Oh no, there is an editor in chief, and it was edited by Mel C. Well, Mel C, you're not doing your job. This isn't readable. It's pretty. I'd say it's nice art, but first 12 pages, one good page of art, and the rest are just like splash effects for space. And this, which looks like it's lifted direct from Akira. And I love Akira, so I know what I'm talking about. It's my all-time favorite, one of my all-time favorites. And then it starts. Then the story kind of starts properly. So it's this bit here. Fine. I think okay. So that it suddenly looks like it's always in this crowded, like Blade Runner kind of city. But then it shifts to this like the Arizona desert. And so it's gone Mad Max. And the dialogue is just waffly and more massive splash pages. This is very reminiscent of American Flag, Shadow, etc. by Howard Chaykin. You've got the Ken Brusniak kind of style of lettering going on there. It's just, that is extremely Howard Chaykin. And again, not talk about, I've been a fan of Howard Chaykin since the 80s. So it's pretty art on half the book. Half of the book is unnecessary artwork. The dialogue is boring, it's dull. He even calls a city that he's going to, I think, or a place he's going to, Shakin. yeah, he goes to Hotel Shaken. It's just not natural dialogue. So the cabbie goes, "Hey man, mind if I smoke?" And our character goes, "Knock yourself out." And so he's trying to make it pithy and pattery, the dialogue, but so the taxi cab driver says, "Hey, so Hotel Shaken, you know the stories, right? Stories? Man, come on, man, you got to know." So he's going to lean into like the sex side of Howard Chaykin comics. It wasn't worth $5.99. There's backup pages, and again, it's just lifting from Howard Chaykin. If you want a Howard Chaykin comic, I'd buy that. And if it was Howard Chaykin, it'd be better written, and there wouldn't be 12 pages of nothing really. It's hard to mark because the arts, when there is art, is really good. He's a good artist. He's not a storyteller. He needs somebody to write a story for him. I'm just disappointed. I was really excited. This is the one that I was really excited for this week. Cheesecake. I don't know if he's trying to be edgy or what, but it feels like Loaded in a comic. If you remember Loaded magazine from the 90s, and it's just, meh. Give it a 4 out of 10. Artwork could give, when there's pages with art that's moving, when it's not just these massive splash pages with sometimes not much going on. Give the art 7. Would I buy this again? No. Am I pleased to pick it up? No, because it cost me, it was $5.99. I feel robbed. So yeah, that's the biggest disappointment of the year so far. And I think the reason why it's disappointed so much is I had really high hopes for it. Maybe that's my fault. Maybe I hyped it up too much in my head. But it proves that sometimes you can be a great artist, but you can be a really bad storyteller. So there we go. But on to a more positive point. Normally I do this in a separate thing, but I'm going to just give a big shout out to 2000 AD. I love that cover, by the way. Very reminds me of Bo Jeffries' saga by Alan Moore. 2008 Mobs is on a really creative streak, but they have been for a long time. But the current story, The Shift, this Judge Dredd one by Ken Nyman and Nick Percival, it's just out and out horror, and it's one of the best horror stories I've read in any comic in the past year or so. I mean, look at that page. It's great. I think it's an 8-part story. There's about 2 more episodes to go. It's just wonderful. So if it gets collected, do buy it. Or buy the back issues. It's really good. And Puzzles of Black Goo, what started off as something what felt quite mundane and gimmicky has now become something much more deep. And Kirsten Doom is in this, who's an old IPC character. It's like how Attack the Block was like Predator for chavs. This is like kitchen sink. This is like a kitchen sink supernatural story. Really, really good. Really enjoyed it. And the other story by Full Tilt Boogie, which is the final book 3, by Alex de Campi and art by Eduardo Acano. It's really good, like almost like manga-esque inspired sci-fi. Look at that splash page. That's how you do a splash page. And the only one I didn't like was this Future Shock. I read it twice now and I can't understand what was going on. Maybe I'm just stupid. But yeah, artwork was okay. Art was nice, but not got a clue of the story. And then another one which I adore is Fiends of the Western Front. This is by Ian Edgerton and Tiernan Trevelyan, who did the cover. And this is the continuation of what started off called Fiends of the Eastern Front. So it's got this vampire in it who's been through most of the wars, and this time he's teamed up with Oscar Wilde in the States. And it leans very much into mythology. The art is wonderful. The writing's brilliant, Oscar Wilde. It's bloodthirsty when it needs to be, and it finishes on a real cliffhanger. So can't wait for the next book to come out. So 2000 AD as a whole, I would give an 8 out of 10. It'd have got a 9 out of 10 if it didn't have that Future Shocking, where the art was good, but the story was just a bit meh. So yeah, so do check out 2000 AD, either digitally or physically. Okay, so that's it. There should be some more stuff coming up soon. I'm going to do a special episode when a special order's come from. I've ordered the Legacy of Vader, which is the Kylo Ren new series that started with all the first 2 issues. So I'll read them and give a review. And I've got some manga coming in. So I'll do a review of those as well. I don't know how much I can show because they're both quite adult. I like grown-up stuff, I'm sorry. Okay, so hope you had a good week. Hope you got really good stuff. Yeah, so enjoy your weekend. Bye.